This morning in North Carolina, wheels are spinning. Determination is winning. A passion is now a thriving business, and it shows no signs of slowing down. How? The power of a conversation, like the one Clint Spiegel had with First Horizon Bank about starting a bike wheel manufacturing facility in Asheville. Now it's not just talk, it's rubber meets road. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/Clint. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC. A lifetime of hard work. Children laughing in the kitchen. Family photos on a restaurant wall. A legacy that lives on. It all comes from the power of a conversation, like the one Tommy Hall had with First Horizon Bank about taking over his father's Charleston-based restaurant business. Now the table is set for a whole new generation. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/Tommy. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC.
If you really like this episode, please support our podcast by going to patreon.com/truecrimewives and get lots of great extras. On the Good Wives Guide to True Crime, we discuss crimes that some may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Hey folks, it's time to grab your glass of wine because the Good Wives, Fancy, Colleen, and Christina, are about to serve up another true crime case.
Listen, I just dialed in. That's what I do with AARP. I'll just dial in. Hey,
oh, that's smart. That's fine. Like I said, you thought you'd find a familiar accent. My accent is very strange, so it's not what you're gonna.
Well, no, usually it's a very nasally Yankee.
Well, that might be Colleen.
That's probably me. Because I'm in
Which
Wisconsin.
I love it. I love everything. It just sometimes people will kind of make fun of you for your Southern accent, but it's like now it's not offensive to, but back in the day, it's a different story. Yeah. And I'll have to I can tell you guys about that if you want to ask about that when we're talking. I want to go on the record now and insult some people. So
go for it. That's our thing.
We'll just start from there, Todd. So how do you really feel about the Southern accent?
I'm really upset. No.
I'm angry.
Oh.
Well, I literally just said if one more technological thing goes wrong today, I'm throwing the computer in the trash and going on a murdering spree. So.
Well, listen, it happens to all of us. You know why I have so many flower beds in my yard?
No.
All of those shallow graves, and then you forget and forget and just plant daisies.
Genius.
It happens.
Awesome.
It happens.
That's awesome.
Genius.
People are not used to me being somebody that can find humor, but in this kind of work, you better find it where you can get it. You better find it where you can get it.
You absolutely have
to.
You
do.
We spent 3 years on a case, and it broke all of our hearts. And when we went to do the podcast about it, because originally we were going to do a series, and then that didn't end up happening, and we did the podcast. And when we did the podcast about it, some people, lots of people loved it, but some people complained because, we laughed and we got angry in places and things. And I'm like, if you had any idea what our team has been through in the 3 years that we worked on this case, you would never question what we are saying about it.
Oh yeah, you can be all over the place with these things, and it's been. This is my 50th year, and this is probably one of the most unusual years of my life. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Wow. Well, it's been a very productive year for us. Last year sucked ass, I can just say.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, it was a growing year for us. We did, we learned a lot. I can say that in the last year. But, so, you originally, you heard about the tent girl case from your girlfriend's father at 17. So when did you decide to get involved in it?
Then. At that point. Really? It was, are we recording? Are we rolling?
Yeah,
yep,
we're rolling.
It automatically does it.
All right, well, good. Okay, then I'll be very more serious about things. But
you don't have to be serious. Our podcast is pretty light, so.
Well, I won't just be all over the place and be on random topics. I'll try to be very focused on what I'm doing.
That is our whole thing.
That's our whole thing. We're random. Don't worry about it. You're all right. We're very casual, but we give a lot of information. So.
Well, it was a long time ago. It's like October of 1987. And I've told this story so many times, but it was my senior year. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know if I was going to college. I didn't know for what. I didn't know if I was going to the prom. I was between girlfriends at the time, so it was like, okay, I don't even know what tomorrow is. And my best friend was sitting right beside of me. And I saw three girls walk through the lunchroom. They'd come out of the office and they were rounding the corner. They were in line like minions, oldest to the youngest. You know, they really were. They had these burgundy jackets on, which were school colors that weren't familiar to me. And the one in the middle, for some reason, it was Lori. It was my future wife. She looked so familiar to me. That person. My best friend was sitting right beside me, and literally, this was such a strange thing to hear myself say at 17. I said, that's the girl I'm going to marry. And I was like, why did I say that? I don't know why I said that. I don't understand why I said that. So I don't know. You know, I'm not trying to put this paranormal vibe into things, but I do believe things happen for a reason. And it wasn't like one of those things where, you know, you say love at first sight, but I didn't know her enough to love her at first sight. It was just that I recognized her. She was very familiar to me.
Sure.
And I don't know why at age 17. And paths crossed. It was just almost like fate stepped in October of 1987. She was in a study hall class later that day. We started talking, and obviously there was a connection there. So it wasn't very long. Within 9 months, we were married.
Oh my God!
We went to the prom together, went to our senior prom, my senior prom, and things just went on a very, very fast track between 17 and being married in July of the next year after I just turned 18, and she was still 17 when we got married. Her house actually burned here on prom night, the night we went to the prom. Her mom and dad's farmhouse burnt down, and her daddy had decided to move the family of, you know, it's a large family. At least she was one of 8. Oh, wow. And they decided to move back to northern Kentucky or southern Indiana, and that was what they were going to do. And originally, my father-in-law was having nothing to do with her staying behind. Mm-hmm. You know, and I talked to my dad, begged and pleaded and said, I'll run away, I'll do this. I threatened, you know, I done whatever I had to do to have my way.
Todd, you are breaking my heart right now. You are literally breaking my heart.
Well, no, I won, so it's heartbreak. I won. So, but I was a little bit of a spoiled brat at the time. I mean, usually my mom and dad tried to make sure if we wanted something that meant something, you know, they'd try to find a way to make it happen for you. So my dad and my father-in-law, my future father-in-law, took a walk around the property that we still live on today, or my mom and dad still live on it. We added. Took a walk around the property, and when they came back, my father-in-law had completely changed his mind. He said, we need to see an attorney and get, not custody, but what do you call it? Where Lori could, guardianship. Guardianship where Lori could continue to go to school here because they were going to move to northern Kentucky. I don't know what my dad said to my father-in-law. He still won't tell me. He wouldn't tell me even after my father-in-law passed away. He said, that's between me and Wilbur. You know, he's told me that more than once. And whatever he said to him, but it worked. And we've been married since 1988. Oh, so it's been well over 30 years now. We've been together since 1987. Wow. And Tent Girl is a big part of it. Mm-hmm. You know, when I first heard of the Tent Girl story and I started to work on it, you know, there was no internet. For all you young ones that never heard of the world, there's no internet. It was like
I was born in 94. So.
Oh, I graduated in 92. Trust me, I know there was no internet. I'm not too far behind you.
It was like smoke signals, you know. You couldn't get anything done, and I couldn't find my way to the grocery store today without the internet. So
I know.
I mean, we're lucky to have it. And it's a mile away, so I mean.
Right.
But it was a huge change, and the internet then was not the internet that we know today. It was very crude, you know, compared to now. And first, it was a very manual search. It was driving to libraries. It was doing this and that, getting newspaper articles, old newspaper articles. They were yellow and falling apart, microfilms, paying 25 cents to print a copy of a microfilm slide off, paying 10, 15, 25 cents a minute for a long-distance phone call driving someplace when you're making minimum wage to copy a newspaper article, which we would download in the bat of an eye right now. That's something that you would just be like, boom, you know, but it was more of a production. It was like a couple of $100 worth of travel and time and telephone calls. And today we would consider it trivial. You know, it's like, oh, that's just a piece of paper. And I hate to throw these away because I've downloaded. I still got, my basement was full and I've been downsizing. But there were so many papers that I just hate to throw away, even now that I've digitized them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I suffered so much to get those pieces of paper at the time. My wife and I, we did so much to print that out and to go get it. And I remember it. There's little notes I've written on some of these. It's like, I went through a lot of trouble to go get that. I can't just toss it away as a piece of redundant data. It's just so hard to throw it away when I know what we went through to go get that. And it was a building block.
I save everything.
I do, and I hate to, and I've been downsized, and luckily the basement flooded once because of central heat and air unit, and we had to get rid of some things. Thank God. I mean, it was like, that was like a blessing. It's like, I could not have chosen to have thrown some of that stuff away. But it allowed us, because they're all digitally backed up, and eventually paper dies, paper withers away, turns gray, and just crumbles. So, you know, to hang on to something just because you knew the struggle behind it. And I think that's why Lori calls me a hoarder. You're hanging on to that, but you got several digital copies of it. I got a letter from the Queen where I'd written to the Queen of England, and she'd written back.
Oh my God, I would.
And about missing and unidentified persons in the UK, which I was very concerned about well over 20 years ago. Wow. You know, just making them aware that there are resources for that. So, How do you?
I would never.
How could you throw a letter away from the Queen? No, there is no absolute.
I mean, it needs to go like to a museum. I need to like donate that.
Yes,
to somebody
absolutely.
I would laminate that.
Well, you can.
It is laminated. That's I wish I had laminated it now.
You could definitely send it to me if you want to get rid of it. Okay, I will definitely take it.
Well, and there are
my order collection.
You know, there's just things like that you keep looking at and you think, oh my God, there's one of these. There's like one in the world of these.
Sure.
So, and there's so many things like that have happened over the course of the past 3 decades that have happened like that because of Tent Girl. And I don't know, it's been an amazing adventure.
Now, Tent Girl was because your father-in-law came upon her body at some point in time. Is that what?
Yes.
Happened? Yes. Tell us about that.
And you can watch it. That's an episode that's of Who Killed Jane Doe. So season 2, I think episode maybe 1 or 2, Who Killed Jane Doe, Tent Girl is actually there. We filmed that in Georgetown, Kentucky. So we sat down with the family, and we got a perspective of that story like we had never had before. And it was actually, it aired 20 years to the week that I first heard of the information that led to the resolution of the case. And they didn't even know it. That just lined up like the stars and planets. It's just like the producers didn't even know that. So January of 1998 to January of 2018, they had no clue. But on this week, 20 years ago, this case was in its beginning stages of resolution. They didn't even know it. It's just like, that was one of my little personal triumphs. It's like, got it. You know, that happened, and that moment was symbolic for me. You know, because I knew. And I was able to, my father-in-law died in November of 2017, just prior to the, you know, it was in post-production, of course, and it ended up going out in January. I had enough time in post-production to go back and say, can I ask for the possibility of having this episode dedicated to him? You know, and I gave his year of birth, year of death. So, I did want to at least, it's like he can't watch it. You know, he's in it as far as being representative with an actor, me, Lori, as well. And it's just like, he'll never see it. He'll never understand what effort I went to try to paint his picture, to paint his story in a way that I think he would have appreciated. You know, I tried to paint him in a way that I saw him, that I knew he had his potential to be, that such a good person, and what he tried to do. Then we didn't always get along. I took his first daughter as far as this with this particular wife. He had older children, but this was his core family with these 8 children, and I was the first one to take one, and it was different. And I took his Tent Girl too, in a way.
Right.
You know, it it was different. I wished he had felt the pride in it more that your son-in-law helped resolve it. Your son-in-law didn't steal it from you. Your son-in-law helped resolve it. That is a compliment to you, not me trying to take it from you.
Right.
So
No.
I wished he had seen that more clearly, that it was more a compliment to his original discovery of the tent girl.
Oh.
But I'm not sure he ever fully saw it that way. But he did do this.
Mm-hmm.
He did leave something for me. He gave me Original Master Detective magazine that covered the story.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he gave me the only one. Mm-hmm. There was a second copy that we found on a folder with my name on it and his belongings when he passed away. So now I have one magazine for each of my two sons.
Oh,
and that was my problem, was who's going to get which one. You know, the oldest is going to get the one he lived through, because the original, he was there for it. The second one come along later, so he's going to have to get the second one. You know, so, and he's fine with that. But you know, first come, first serve. You were there during, and you were there in the aftermath of it. So my second son, he was born in 2000. So he don't know life without all of this. He has no idea what life was like before the internet, life was like before Tent Girl. This was a constant in his entire life. It was an addition for me when I was his age, you know, around his age, late teens. For him, it's been complete. This is it.
Yeah, and it's kind of launched you into all kinds of other things. But now, how did you determine that that it was Barbara? How long did that take?
So there were years. I mean, years and years and years. Once I got online, there was 3-4 years of searching the internet, looking at websites called, Craigslist. So there was a website at the time called Crane and Hibbs. It's very much like Craigslist of the day. And lost pets, cars for sale, jobs posted, lost love, everything. And it also had a listing from a woman who had not seen her sister since December of 1967 in Lexington, Kentucky. I knew that was it. The description, the physical description, the time periods, the heart and soul feeling of it. It was, again, like seeing Lori for the first time. It was familiar. I knew it was her. There was nothing else needed. It was like sticking your arm in a stack of hay and pulling out a needle and knowing that you had the needle. It was like, it wasn't because I knew how to find a needle or my fingertips were magnetic. It was like I was supposed to do this. Just be gracious and do it. You know, this is for whatever reason you're supposed to do this. This is it. So that was it. I knew it. We were in the middle of one of our last big blizzards we had at the time. It was, January 1998. The internet was going down. I was losing my mind, getting generators, trying to keep something going where I could actually get online and receive telephone calls. And it was just crazy because the world was starting to light up. I was hearing from news outlets from all over the planet, not just the United States, the planet. German newspapers. I mean, it was just crazy. You know, it's just like, tell us about this. And it was usually just a response like, yeah, it's true, and this and that. We're waiting. I've contacted the family. I know it's weird, but I'm a 27-year-old, high school educated Southern boy from Tennessee. You know, so there was no exposure to this outside world other than what I saw on television. None.
Yeah.
So it was rare to me, you know, to like see something from the outside world, especially because you had been rejected so many times. Because when I tried to reach out with Tent Girl, they're like, so what's it mean to you? So what's your connection to it? So it was this and that. Anything. I was just looking for universities that might have newspaper clippings or a student that might have been lost or something, you know. So it's just like you're just endless search for trying to find just something. And, you know, some of their responses were not nice, you know. It's just like, go fly a kite, to say the nicest, you know. So it was, and sometimes, most of the time, it was just nothing at all. And these calls cost me money. I mean, it was postage. You'd have to send something. I would like print out stuff that wasn't cheap to print out at the time. You know, people think printing out's really cheap. It wasn't at the time. You know,
no, it wasn't.
Could be up to 25 cents a page at the time. And then you're putting them in an envelope, paying for postage, and you're sending them to somebody that you don't know if they even care
right.
to receive it, or if it's going straight into the trash. So it's just like, oh my God, I got to have somebody to listen to this. Somebody's got to receive this data. And I had a feeling of guilt. You know, I will say, I have to say, if you know what survivor's guilt is, there was a degree of that type of feeling with this, because there was times that you would get tired of somebody saying, you know, this is none of your business, you're not a cop, you're not this. You know, there's times that I would say, I was a factory worker. I'd just say, you know what, I'm done. I can't afford this. I don't need for somebody to tell me that I'm a stupid idiot. You know, I don't need for somebody to tell me this is none of my business. I'm done. The feelings of guilt of like, well, you really should try to help her. You really should do this. You know, they kept creeping in, and then you would crawl back, and Lori wasn't always happy with it, because it was like, that's not cheap. You know, you spent more phone calls, more long distance talking to people about Tent Girl than I did talking to my mother. And I'm rationing my phone calls at 10, 15 cents a minute. You know, so, you know, she's still a late teenager, you know, when we got married. She's 17. So there's still years there, a decade, that it's still very difficult to communicate with her mom. There wasn't just drive up and pay a visit. It was like, we're writing letters to each other. You know, love you, wish you were here, wish we could see you. You know, it was it's just a very, very different time. And, you know, so it was really hard. So, to actually finally find something that could be her, and it felt like it was her, that weight, that whole thing, that was like a weight of dread that was just like holding me down and making me feel guilty, giving up and saying, I'm tired of this. That day in January of 1998, it all went away. I felt that blanket lift off my shoulders, and I'm not saying it's going to be an angelic experience or anything like that. It was something profound. So it was like, I knew it was her. I didn't need DNA. I knew, because it was like, my search is over. You have been relieved of your duty, but there's something else. You know, so it was, you know, it's just like there was a contingency with it. It's like, okay, you're relieved from this search, but what's next? Sure. You know, so there was this whole mystery thing. Now what do you do now? So I know that's a pretty heavy story. You know, that's and I've never. One day I think I probably need to do some type of book and put it in detail, because there's so many nuances that I've never really fully explained or realized myself. You know, every time I have a telephone call like this, I think about these things. It's like, wow, I never said that before. Right. So sure, it was crazy. But let's not get too heady and dark. You know, you guys know I like to laugh. You know I like to laugh. You know I like to look at the brighter side of things. So I'll let you guys lead me back to where you want to go.
So you felt like you found closure with that. But you guys weren't able to identify the killer. So do you still work on that, or do you feel like your closure was just bringing her home?
Well, we feel like if you'll watch Who Killed Jane Doe, you'll see that we think it was her husband that did this.
Sure.
So,
okay.
And we got a huge family connection. I know the children, her sisters.
Recently, our client John met his banker to discuss plans for a clean energy building. What he found was a shared passion for building something more. Momentum for change. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/John. This morning in North Carolina, wheels are spinning. Determination is winning. A passion is now a thriving business, and it shows no signs of slowing down. How? The power of a conversation, like the one Clint Spiegel had with First Horizon Bank about starting a bike wheel manufacturing facility in Asheville. Now it's not just talk, it's rubber meets road. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/Clint. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC.
And I know her children with the man that we think ended her life. We know each other, and I think we've all come to the conclusion, we're not going to point fingers and say it was because of this or this or this or this. It's just that we believe that that's what happened. It was an altercation between he and her that I feel like ended up ending her life. Sure. You know, so, and once you watch Who Killed Jane Doe, you'll actually see it. There's a lot, and it's told by their own mouth. I don't want to tell their story for them. Oh, yeah. I'll let the family, I let and that's a homework goal for anybody here, a homework assignment for anybody listening. Watch Who Killed Jane Doe. I don't get any profits from it, so I'm not getting a royalty from it. I'm just wanting to watch it to fill in the gap.
Right.
Because this is a multi-layer story. But you probably need to see that, and I don't want to tell somebody else's story when we have it from the horse's mouth. We have it from her sisters, her children that were there, and I'll let them tell you who they think. And I agree with them that we think it was her husband at the time that did this.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally understand, and I like that that's what you're doing, that you're letting them tell their story and not just running out there and saying whatever. That's a great way to think of doing it. And I have not gotten to watch that show. It is on my list of ones to watch. I just hadn't gotten to in this week that I have had since contacting you. It's been crazy.
Oh wow, yeah, and I appreciate it. We had a wild contact with each other, and I was so thrilled to see somebody that was working out of Kentucky, whether you're a Kentucky native or not. My wife's from Kentucky, and anytime you see Kentucky or Tennessee pop up on a message, you think, "Ooh, I need to pay extra close attention to that," because somebody that's familiar.
Yeah. Well, I've been here 12 years, so I mean, I'm 45, so yes, I've lived a lot of my life elsewhere, but I do, it is home now, and it's. The worst thing I don't like about here is the weather. That's my biggest complaint. But other than that, I mean, it's home, and we do look into a lot of the cases that are local here in the area for me, and Colleen does the same thing. Colleen does the same thing. She's in Wisconsin. She likes to look into cases that are close to her.
Well,
I don't like her weather at all. So.
I was going to say, do not talk about weather to me. Like, my student's spring break is in 2 weeks.
It's not even freezing here right now, and we're having tantrums, So
I know, we've got
snow, but it's like I'm not happy with it.
Right,
losers. But so
ask me something I've never been asked before. I'd love to.
That
is some parts of the story.
Oh boy, I don't know what that's a lot of pressure.
Well, I will tell you about being treated Southern. I will say that now. And it was at the time 48 Hours. They were one of the big news companies that actually contacted us. And I'd really never watched it that much, because I was focused. I was still young, And Paula Rosa, there were so many people that are highly respected news people that actually came to work with us. And we agreed to work with them. 2020 asked to work with us, and it was like, 48 Hours is really deeper down the road, and I really couldn't reinvest time. I was working at a factory at the time, and I couldn't just take copious amounts of time off to refilm, reshoot, redo this. I had to do whatever I had to do.
Right.
And I had missed so much time because of this, which was an opportunity. Even HR said, like, listen, we love it. But they couldn't excuse, me taking hours. There was actually a production meeting about me. I remember the HR manager saying, I'm so proud of Todd Matthews and the work he's done. But, behind the scenes, it's like, you could actually lose your job because you missed 102 hours. Or I don't know how many hours it was, but it was enough.
Right.
But it was either like you make a choice. You make a choice. It's like, are you going? Because 48 Hours doesn't pay. They don't just say, hey, we're going to cover your fuel, we're going to do this, you're going to do that, we're going to pay for everything. It's all pro bono. It's all on this. It was news. And you're either there to take your platform or you let somebody else have it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I have to be here. And a lot of things happen. So there was a point in time where I was at the last. It's just like, I was so stressed out. I was at the end of the wire. It's like, Lori, this is it. Financially, everything, time-wise, I'm done. This is it. This is our last trip. So I woke up one morning here, right before we were about to go on a shoot with 48 Hours. I was really sick. And my face was paralyzed. Half of my face was paralyzed. And we ended up going to the doctor. And I remember my family physician at the time, he came back in and says, and I used the word palsy. Sounds really bad.
Bell's palsy.
he said, you have Bell's palsy. And he might as well say cerebral palsy. It's just like, oh, Lordy, I'm dying. You know, it's just crazy. It's just like, oh, my God, you know, I've got Bell's palsy. What am I going to do? I was paralyzed on one side. And guess what? That equaled a 6-week medical leave that allowed me to finish all of my filming that I had to do for this. And I didn't pick it. I didn't manipulate that in any way. I was a victim. I was caught up in that hurricane. I was thinking, Bell's palsy, what is that? You know, the internet was still young. It's like, somebody needs to tell me what kind of palsy I've got because I don't want to die.
Right.
And it was totally, so the last few scenes of 48 Hours was filmed from one side. You know, they tried to get me from a certain angle so that it wouldn't look like I was from
having a stroke.
A scene on the movie Deliverance. You know, it's just like, okay,
wow.
I'm a hillbilly, but I actually, you know, and I was very conscious of that, you know, like, oh my God, I can't miss this last thing, you know, and it gave me time to finish out everything that I had to do, all the obligations and the return calls, everything. I ended up doing the Lisa Gibbons show as a guest on that, and I couldn't have done it without that opportunity. I couldn't have. It just wouldn't have been there without that opportunity to do that. And the funny thing was, now when they did the intro for 48 Hours, which today would probably end up being a lawsuit, which was not at the time, they introduced it sort of like this. It's like a 30-year-old crime solved from all places, Tennessee. You know, like, oh my God, they got computers in Tennessee, and of all people, a farm boy from Tennessee.
People, a farm boy. Yeah, wow.
Oh my God, so he can speak. He has a computer, and he's in Tennessee. Yeah, he solved this case. So they're building me up. Was almost like tearing me down. It's like, okay,
right,
a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, but at the time, they meant it with all their sincerity. They did. They meant it in the most positive way possible. But and this is one of the things, I get a lot of laughs with this one. You know, the joke with this one, I'm not a farm boy. I've never milked a chicken. I am not a farm boy. I'm not. I'm not. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with the farm boy, but give credit to the farm boy. I've never chopped tobacco. I've never hauled hay. And I live in a rural community. I'm in the city limits of a small town of 4,400 people. You know, so it's like, this is a very rural community, but I've never done the things that some of the people that are my age have done. Literally no tobacco, no hauling hay. I have gathered eggs off my dad's sister's, you know, when she had chickens. I have done that. I've never slopped pigs. I've never done anything like that. Wow. I've lived a very rural life. I worked at a grocery store as a stock boy as my first job. I worked in a garment factory as my second job, a manufacturing factory for furniture, then for automotive, and then in this world that I'm in now, and now probably television, you know, so it's kind of transcended, but I don't want anybody. Now, we've had gardens, flower beds, tomatoes, but there's no nothing, you know. I don't want somebody to think I've claimed to be a farm boy. That's like claiming to be law enforcement or claiming to be a doctor. You know, it's like not. It's but it's the best description they had at the time, and I got to go with it. You know, got to go with it.
That's funny. So you're credited.
But they didn't mean any ill will. But if they said today, it would have been very derogatory today.
People would have been up in arms today. Up in arms.
Internet storm.
Yeah. Everybody
well, the farm boys would have hanged me, I guess. They probably been taking me up saying, "You're not no farm boy. You don't even know how to haul hay."
Yes.
Hilarious.
So you're credited with being the first online sleuth. Do you like that title?
Well,
no.
Apparently it's true. It's been enough decades later that it is. Now, when I was first working with, and I'll be really careful how I choose my words when I go in this, my most recent position was Director of Communication with NamUs, and that was the National Missing and Unidentified Person System, and I helped create that system, and that started back 13 years ago. And how, you know, because I didn't go to college for this. I didn't go to college at all. I didn't have, I can't say I spent 20 years NYPD. I didn't have a criminology degree at Vassar. I didn't have that. So often when the media would credit me as director of communications, they would go on my history. They would say Todd Matthews, and they would mention Tent Girl. Tent Girl, because that was the first case solved using the internet. And I could see, and I was told at certain points in time, that it's probably not a good thing. Let's not conflate these things. So it's like, okay, I get it. So we finally got to the point where it come back with Todd's the first cyber sleuth. Because again, I didn't have anything to fall back on that wasn't the tow motor drivers love me. I can't say that. My history was my blood history, my family's involvement in a case. So it was like, okay, Todd was the first cyber sleuth. I was told that this could turn off the law enforcement community because it's so supportive of the volunteer community. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying this was by the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice was always very supportive. They're the ones that called me to be part of it. Mm-hmm. This is from a different side of things. And it's like, okay, so, all right, so I can't say that I was one of the first cyber sleuths because it might turn off law enforcement, which seemed to get along with me really well. I made friends with cops, teachers, or people in television, that type of thing. So it's like usually these are the people that I gravitate toward, or that are my people, writers, authors. They're the people that we're all on the understanding thing.
Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, great. One of the last things that I used when somebody was grasping, because they would read my bio. My bio was actually on the website, which describes some of my past. And people would say, okay, so how do you want us to describe your background? If there's no this or that or no law enforcement background, what do you want us to do? And I just loved it. You know what? I helped develop the program.
There you go.
Like, hello.
Even that was rejected. Even that was, these stories are not about you. So it's like, okay,
wow.
I didn't think they were. So I knew then, it's almost like, okay, this is a no-win scenario. This is not going to be anything that I'm going to be able to do beyond a certain point.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know what else I have. What else do you want? So all of these years, over the past few years, I've had so many contacts from television, scripted or unscripted, and I would take it to the point as far as I could without saying, okay, it's a conflict of interest. So, and if I felt like, okay, they're not going to go anywhere, this is just going to be a shot in the dark, and I can't leave a job, that's a sure thing, or at least it's a grant job, and it's at least it's paying the bills. And I like what I'm doing, and I'm making a difference. So it's okay. So I thought, well, as long as I'm doing that, I'll be okay with it. So let's just go. And I'm looking at 50. I'm looking at 50 this year, and it's like, okay, you better be making up your mind with some things, because this is one of those little goals you set in life, like, after this, I need to be here. Mm-hmm. I need to be doing books. I need to be doing this. And you can't just hold off forever.
Right.
So it's like, wow, okay, so a decision was made for me. A decision was made for me, So I was kind of caught off guard. I wasn't expecting to leave the role so quickly. I was hoping to maybe make some changes or some lateral moves, and maybe just kind of scale back and start looking in different directions. But that was not the case. So in a way, maybe it was a good thing. Mm-hmm. Because a choice was made that I couldn't have made for myself. A choice was made that I couldn't have stepped off. If I feel like I'm in a role that I know that I can help things and change the cause, to take a chance for me to help improve myself, maybe not, I'll be able to have an opportunity to fix things for people. That's a big if. And to put your family on the line for, like, okay, I want to take this shot at the brass ring. I want my family, y'all hang on. Hopefully you'll be okay. I could never have made that decision. So it was within 24 hours of this happening on January 7th that I got a call. I won't say his name on the air. 2 different things happened. But I had a very distinct high-level interest in scripted and unscripted television for me. And with me actually being able to tell some of the stories. And it was like, okay, this is like really, really, and if it had been 48 hours before that, I might have had to say, hold on, let me keep you at arm's distance. I'm not sure I can do this because I don't want to do anything that's a conflict of interest. This time I was able to say, you know what? Drop that development agreement. I no longer have a conflict of interest. So I was able to say that, and we did that. And we have shot some footage that I feel like could be what I want to do with television. I want to tell these stories. There's so many things with these stories that we tell. You know, we always put the name, we give a press release, and then we move on. I have to move on. You're off. You know, the parade's moved on before the sun sets, you know.
Yes.
I often get the call to come back, and it's like, there's still this homicide thing, right? There's still this. We still don't know this, right? Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of unfinished business that I feel like these are stories that need to be told. And I want to go back and tell them while I'm still here and able to tell them. I have a lot of things that's inside of my brain that I want to share with people instead of letting it die with me at some point in time, because there's things I've not told. There's things I've not written down. There's feelings, emotions, personal relationships, connections that I have not communicated in any way to anybody other than maybe to an individual. And sometimes that individual's deceased now. I really feel like some of these stories are necessary to be told. Some of these stories have to be shared so that we won't repeat the mistakes of our past.
God, you're speaking.
So I want to do this.
Too.
I want to do this in so many ways. This is not just for entertainment, but the entertainment world are the people that want to hear it. The people like you guys are the ones that are going to consume this. And with proper instruction, if I say, listen, you listen to the story, and here's what I want you to take away from it. Mm-hmm. What if I tell you, like, here's why this story is important, that you enjoy it? Not just enjoy the story, do what you will with it. What if I tell you this, like, here's why this story is important. Here's why it matters. Here's why it could change the future. Don't be content with just consuming a story and thinking it's cool. Take that story and change things so that people don't have to suffer the same thing again.
Oh, you are.
That's what you have to do.
You are.
I mean, that's what we have
everything
to do.
That's the whole thing that we want to do. That's everything.
Yeah.
And we're all about, like, you keep talking about stories and telling the stories of what happened. See, that's what fascinates me. The actual event, the murder, is not what is fascinating to me. That's not what I like. I want to know, how did we get there? Why did we get there? What happened? And that's why our show on YouTube is called Murder by Design. And what we focus on is looking into what the mind is and how this happened and why it happened and how do we keep it from happening again. And that was one of the problems, you know, when we were working on the Gypsy case, people didn't understand, because we weren't telling the same story that, you know, E-News was telling or In Touch was telling. Even though I talked with a lot of those people and I did interviews for them, you know, we weren't telling the story that Erin Carr told, because she only told a very small portion of that story. And it was what she wanted out there, you know, but I want the whole story out there, regardless of whether people like the whole story or not, because it is the whole story.
Yeah, it's definitely not the story that Hulu wanted to tell.
It's definitely not the story that Hulu told, you know. So I've been up against the same thing. That's where I'm at in my life. Is I am a writer, I am an actress, I come from the entertainment world, and that is what I want to be doing. And we melded true crime into that, you know, and we're working on that's what we're working on, is series like that, you know, documentaries, scripted as well, that tell these stories in their entirety, so that people, like you said, can take away something. Why is this an important story? Because the murder is so small in that story, you know. There's so many events that led you to that event, and then what happens after it, and how do we change that? That is definitely where we're at with things. So,
well, I think it's why Kit Girl has been such an endearing story. Like I've not said and just promoted it, put it in Google search engines. People have found it time and time again and says, tell me again. It's like, I've already told it. Well, tell me in a different way, or tell me why it would matter differently. So I have, you know, there's different aspects of it. There's different ways to tell it. All true, but there's a lot of different sides of the story that people don't know. So I give them what it is in particular they're looking for. It's like, okay, you're worried about this part of it, the crime angle, or you're worried about the survival part of it, or you're worried about how did the sisters cope with it, or how did I deal with my father-in-law? How did it affect my marriage? So many different ways of looking at it. This is a love story. This is a tale of murder. This is high school. This is so many different stories in so many different ways. And I would hate to even think about how to put together a made-for-TV movie. And we talked about it. I've talked about it multiple times over 2 decades. It's like, how would we wrap this up with a made-for-TV movie? And it's like, I think there might be too many moving parts. There's too many storylines. Like, did you focus on this storyline? Do you focus on that storyline with this couple? Can you focus on 3 different couples at the same time? I don't know. I'm not talented enough to say, okay, I can follow this many storylines. Like, I can tell a story. Obviously, I've been able to tell a story over the years where I can actually attract an audience. But now, can I tell a multi-layered story in a way that I can get like 3 different types of audiences following? No. I'm going to have a little bit of help with that. But can I start the ball rolling? Yes. I would love to do a made-for-TV movie with Tent Girl and tell a lot of different stories, but it's like, I'm going to have to sacrifice this, I'm going to have to sacrifice that, and this and that and that and that. So anytime I put out something that I think is with Tent Girl, everything I've ever put out with Tent Girl or been a part of what's been put out, I will say has been incomplete. There has been a portion of it that was not represented in it. There has been. So it's almost like this is almost the whole story, but then if you read these 3 stories with it, you'll have a whole thing. So I've never had something. I think Who Killed Jane Doe was the closest. I think it was. But did it completely capture everything that needed to be captured? No. No, it did not. There's been books.
Yeah.
The Skeleton Crew by Deborah Halber was a book from a few years ago that actually, it started with me and ended with me, with my family, and it is my family, and it followed Cyber Sleuth through. It was a well-received book. Actually, there's a book out right now. It's a scripted book, Lori Raider Day, The Lucky One.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Are you tired of fighting your air? Constantly lighting candles or replacing air fresheners to mask household odors from pets, smoke, musty basement, shoes, or just stagnant, stuffy air, yet never gaining on it? Take charge of your air with an Easy Breathe ventilation system. For over 20 years, Easy Breathe has been providing air exchanges and reducing airborne particles by up to 85%. Right now, receive 20% off your own Easy Breathe ventilation system. Call 866-822-7328 or visit takechargeofyourair.com.
If you guys will look it up, I don't have a link for you, but I mean, she's currently in the tour to actually promote this book, and hopefully I'll catch up with her on it. But I'm a real character in her fictional world. Just on a page or two, because she references the person that I was. Instead of changing my name, she used my real name and referenced me as the person that I was in that particular thing. So it's just a very short mention, but it's a powerful mention, and that's the whole thing. So if I can help her promote that book, because she did such a really good job, and I read her book back in August of last year. So, I mean, I've already read it, approved it, and told her that I would do anything I could to help her with the promotion of her fictional book, The Lucky One. And there's nothing, there's like nothing that we get from it. I don't have any royalty stake in it or anything. It's just that I believe in what she said and how she described people. I believe in it. And I think that's good enough for me. To me, you told the truth. You said it in a way that's complementary to the process. And I didn't have to pay you to write it. That's a good thing.
Well,
that's a good thing.
We will definitely.
So that's PR that I didn't have to buy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll definitely put her, we'll look at the book and put it in our show notes so that people can go ahead and grab a link and grab it from, I'm sure it's on Amazon, so I'll find it on there and put it on there. But and we definitely would love to talk with her, so we'll reach out.
It would be a great interview. I mean, because she interviewed me for this book.
Right.
It was offline, off camera, off tape, and everything. And she grilled me good, and I like it. I appreciate that, because I feel like media, news media, you should hold people that do this work. When I work for the government, and now even after I work for the government, you should hold us accountable.
Yes.
The people that are responsible to make sure some of these things get done, you need to hold them accountable for that. There's no doubt about it. Unless somebody holds them accountable. I wanted to actually do the International Investigative Reporters. It's a conference that happens every year with them, and I don't think most of my coworkers appreciate the idea of investigative reporters. That's scary, right? And it's not if you're honest with them and tell them the truth.
Right.
It's not scary.
Right.
So I didn't have any problem thinking about going to the International Investigative Reporters event. No problem at all. And in fact, I'd love to. I want them to do investigative stories. I'd love it.
I would love
to go do that. And we're going to have, you and I are going to have some of those conversations like you had with the young lady that wrote that book, because I have some ideas.
Good.
You forget I'm a television and series writer. That's what I do. I am big on that. So.
Well, I didn't kill anybody, so I ain't with anybody.
They were just fine.
No, but you just
you have to help people speak to the fire. You do. I mean, if people are going to step into the role and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be responsible for that, okay, then show your cards. Do what you're going to do, So, and you can't make everybody happy. You try. I mean, there's people that I've worked with that I wish I could solve their case. I wish I could do something, and they might have unrealistic expectations looking back at my body of work, thinking, okay, Todd Matthews can do this. I have faith in him because he did this and this and this. And it's like, sometimes there's things that I don't want to disappoint you, but I don't have the magic bullet, or there's not enough information available yet, or it's not time for this to be resolved just yet. There's a lot that has to happen before some of these cases can be resolved.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
We get that a lot too. There is one out of California that I'm working on that I might run past you. It's a young lady kind of similar who it's a young lady who's looking for who killed her mother. And her mom was basically discounted as being investigatable because at one point she had been, a sex worker and into drugs, but she had just gotten married. She had children and everything by this point in time when she was murdered. And the girl has never been able to solve it, and she has hardly anything to go on, but we're trying, I'm looking into it. So I might run that one past you. But your story that you just told me, like, you know what, the fact that you said, oh, there's this part of the story, but oh wait, there's that part of the story, so nothing's ever been told. That was exactly what we were trying to do with Gypsy's story, because I felt that it wasn't just Gypsy's story, it was her mother's story and the family story and Nicholas's story. And so we were doing the same thing of like, that story is not just one story. It's like 75 stories that go into that story. And that is what we are all about. So I will definitely talk with you about that.
But that's how even like
it's hard to put together
other workers got
this is the ultimate thing. This is the one piece that will define this entire thing. I don't see that being possible on some of these stories, at least not with Tent Girl.
Right.
Because I have to respect everybody's opinion, not just their opinion, their experience.
Yes.
And I think we might have had some early conflict with the Tent Girl sisters, even though I had nothing against them. I mean, as far as they could say, this stranger from Tennessee just comes in and suddenly he's been credited with a lot of different things, and they've suffered for years. I get that. I totally get that. Totally. But I think after a few years of getting to know them and help them understand, like, listen, I'm here. I didn't ask to be part of this. For some reason, this chose me, and it's got me part of it too. Now, I'm more than 20 years in myself. I'm more than 30 years. Since 1987, I'm in. So you can't say I'm not in. you know, at this point in time, I'm part of the story now. I'm not just somebody's interested in the story. You become part of the story. So there's no way to say, okay, what's your role in this? And I think they respect that now. I think they respect it as much as I respect their role and the ability to give them the opportunity to tell their story. When this opportunity comes to me from Who Killed Jane Doe, you know, to quickly point it back to them and say, you know, she needs to say that.
Right.
She needs to say that. She needs to say that. It might have looked like, okay, suddenly you're just giving away every part of the story that you have. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm giving it to the people that need to be telling in the first place.
Well, and it always
takes
time for things. And
it's the best. It's the best thing that ever happened to me was that telling of the story, because other people got to tell it. Right. Didn't do anything to diminish my role at all. Mm-hmm. My story's been told countless times in the media, as far as 25%. This might have been more 25% me, 75% them, but it truly defined us. It finished off the story that needed to be told and told it in a way. I mean, you saw me on it. You saw a reconstruction of me at a younger age, you know, interacting with my wife and my father-in-law at the time. You saw that, just little bits, enough. If you read more about Tent Girl, you'll be able to put it all together. So it's not like you'll watch this one show and you know everything you need to know.
Right.
You'll watch this show, you'll do your research, which most people do. Mm-hmm. You don't just read one thing and form your opinion. You do this, because you don't, I don't. I don't watch one thing and inform my opinion. I'll take a slice of something. I might say, this is the number one piece, and these are all the supporting things that make this part of it. Yeah, this is great. You know, no story has one script. There's no story that has one script. There's none.
Right.
No way.
So there's a case out of Tennessee right now that we're following, and I literally, it's so funny because I just clicked on something about it and was like, is that Todd? Oh my God, that's Todd.
It's me.
And so it's the Evelyn Boswell case. So what
it is.
Are your thoughts on that right now?
Well, and you know, and these stories that you know, because I'm not sitting here watching, clicking on all the click things and watching all the armchair theories. Not because I don't value armchair theories. It's just like, oh my God, these can get people killed. So let's do a lot. And I said that in the news article. You know, they appreciate it. It's like, let's not speculate and point at people and do this and this and this and this. So, and I've not watched it, because that was literally, I had like 4 minutes, and I don't like videos, and you know that. It was like 4 minutes to do this, and it's like, okay, comb your hair, put on a different shirt, find a room, you know, so, and I had on shorts, you know, so I had on
tall shoes,
blue jean shorts, and a long sleeve t-shirt, you know, a long sleeve button down shirt. So I mean, you know, you're trying to do whatever you can with what you can, you know, comb your hair. The lighting was horrific.
Sure.
So it was just, I mean, but it was like, was it important to do? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And so I had to. Had to do that. I mean, I had an opportunity to say, like, listen, guys, there's a case from 15 years ago, a missing person that John Matthew Thrasher, and there was a rumor that his body was thrown down one of our sinkholes. You know, one of the vertical caves here. It's, you know, there's a lot of deep holes in this area. This karst topography, so that's really bad. Right. And a rumor led local law enforcement to believe this body had been tossed in a certain hole in a state park. And a police officer that was not from this area, which you have to be from this area to understand the topography, but he was from Illinois originally, young. He didn't know. He didn't understand. So he tried to research one of the rumors that said this person's body was placed in this hole. He stepped on the moss near that hole, and he fell more than 100 feet to his death.
Oof.
He was the first officer killed in the line of duty in Overton County. And a lot of people don't know that. They think about an officer killed in the line of duty in a car crash trying to rescue somebody or a bank robbery. This is a man that was trying to explore a sinkhole, trying to find the body of a missing person. He was every bit the hero as somebody that tried to stop a bank robbery. Yes, he was, because that was a financial thing. This was trying to find a missing person, trying to find the remains of a missing person. And he was a young man from Illinois. He was a young man.
Wow.
And he died trying to look within that hole and fell to his death.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
I don't like that at all.
No, I mean, nobody does.
That's not a good thing, So those are the stories that I need to tell. Those are the stories that this was written up in Forensic Magazine last year. It's important that we tell those stories. I don't want that officer to have died in vain. Because my great-grandfather with my same name, James Matthews, James Oliver, my name's James Todd, 100 years ago, from right now, my great-grandfather was the sheriff of Overton County. My great-grandfather was the sheriff from 1920 to 1922. Right now, 100 years ago. What do I owe him?
Oh.
Yeah.
His picture hangs in the museum, got that suit and tie on, handsome man, I hate to see that. He was sheriff for 2 years. He was a coroner. I've been the coroner of Overton County. As far as that goes, I've not been the sheriff, but there was pressure on me a couple of years ago to say, why don't you run for sheriff when you're 50? Because it's an election year. Should I run for sheriff of Overton County this year? No, I can't. I can't. Physically, I'm not able to. And that's a story for another day. Physically, I'm not able to run for sheriff because I can't do the police academy, and I shouldn't shortchange the citizens, but I will do the same thing. I'm not the sheriff of Overton County, but I will be here for Overton County. I will serve every role possible to make sure that Overton County is a safe environment, and every homicide that's here that I can do anything about, when I can do something about it, through the media or wherever, I will do something about it. So I might not be sheriff, but I'm very active and present in the law enforcement situation of Overton County in 2020, as my great-grandfather was in 1920. I've not forgot. I've not scaled back. Not done anything any different. I'm just doing it in a different way, the way that I can.
That's such a good message.
It is. It's a great message. And I think that brings together the community in a way that we can have people like you that are not necessarily law enforcement, and people like those of us, that aren't, but really passionate about looking into these things, but making sure that we are working with law enforcement, to do this, because sometimes we can ask questions law enforcement can't ask, and
you can.
Yeah.
You can. Just don't put yourself in danger in ways that it's going to tie the case up. And that's the whole thing I think you have to tell people. And even though I've told people that before, I've told people that, and I've watched them go do it. I turn around and watch them. It's just like, you just did exactly what I told you. I begged you to please not do.
Don't do. Right.
You just did it.
And we've seen it happen firsthand of people who just go on these wild tangent rumors on things and can really destroy somebody's life. And I mean, we see it every day. And so I think that's the danger of the internet sleuth. I don't know if you can agree, but that it's good to ask questions, but when you make it so poignant that you can really hurt people, not just like emotionally, but their reputation and risk their lives when there's not that hardcore fact to go on, and you're just going by the rumor mill. I think it plays.
Well, and you can't crowd solve everything. That's the whole thing. I've had people that said you can crowd solve anything. No, you cannot.
No.
You can trample a crime scene. Trust me. Yes, you can. You can have so much presence there that nobody will ever look at it again if you're not careful. So let's not do something. If the time is not right, you have to pick and choose your time. And I've seen that actually with Tent Girl. And it's just like, wow, if I hadn't touched that right then or if I'd done that, I would have done this. So it's not because of my wise intuition. It's just like, okay, I saw it firsthand, and I realized, wow, if I'd done that then, I would have really, really, really screwed up. There's times I really, really, really screwed up, and I could have done it very differently, and I wished I had done it differently. So it's just always eyes wide open, look ahead, don't try to push it, and if you're pushing the boundaries, there's going to be somebody that's difficult to deal with, and I know that. There's going to be somebody that is resistant out of fear. That's understandable. There's elected officials that's like, wow, okay. And there's reasons why, political reasons, because I deal with politics a lot too, because I've been dealing with a lot of things with state law that requires the use of missing persons programs nationwide. There's state laws, and I've had people say, okay, listen, I really want to do this, but the reason I can't do that until this happens is because of this. It's like, wow, that makes sense, because you made this agreement here. You have to wait till August before you can say this. I get that. So you're on board, but you can be more effective if you wait to hear. So give you a little bit of time to negotiate. Okay, I get that, because politics is about negotiation. Absolutely. It's not about wheeling and not always. I will say that it's not always about wheeling and dealing and promises and stuff like that. But it's like, listen, I'll help you do this. But it is about negotiation. Like, listen, okay, I know this law is important to you, but these 3 laws are important to me. How can I support you on those laws, but I need you to support me on these laws? That's what it's about.
Sure.
That's the way it goes, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. Like, if I want somebody to help me, I will heighten the importance on certain things that they want. You know, it's just like, okay, I can help you with this, because I don't care either way as far as that goes, or I get your point. You want to do this, and that's a good thing, you know. I might not see it to the level that you see it, but okay. If I can help you do that, I'll have faith in your work. I'll have faith in you as a colleague. So we'll do that. So, but listen, my faith is in this, and I have this immediate need. What can you do to help me? So it's not like a drug deal. I don't want to say a drug deal in a way. Sometimes it's like a peaceful negotiation. It's just like, this is this. I need this.
And you need that. So let's do this.
Yeah. So, and I don't want to compromise my values at all. What do you need from me that falls within my values? You know, so I'm not going to be able to just agree blatantly with whatever you want. It's just like, what do you need in me that I can actually say that I agree to, or don't disagree to, in a way that I can actually support the further, you know, delve into it. So, you know, maybe politics is next. It's either television or politics, because there's negotiations, you know, as far as that goes. It's like, okay, I need this. You need this sidewalk. I need this crosswalk. So, and I'm particularly involved in aging communities with AARP. You know, I'm looking at aging communities. I'll be 50 this year, which is not that old, but I'm invested in this. My mom and dad are in their early 70s. I'll be in my 50s as of this year. Might be wise for me to look at how we can improve senior situations in my community moving forward. Wouldn't you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For my parents, myself, and my children and my grandchildren. I'm not stupid.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
It's just like, that's a no-brainer. So
are there
I'm hoping missing persons will become extinct, as far as missing and unidentified persons with Ancestry DNA. And I've been working with Ancestry DNA.
I love them.
Colleen Fitzpatrick, Margaret Press. I've been doing a lot of their media work.
I'm pretty sure I'm friends with her.
I love both of them. I've known them both for years. When I actually stopped working with NamUs in January 7th, I immediately contacted them. I've stayed in contact with them over the years, and I said, what can I do to help you guys? Because I need to scratch my itch. You know, it's just like, what can I do? And social media. So I've been doing some of their social media postings on Facebook, LinkedIn, and that type of thing. So anonymously. So I get to do it like not as Todd Matthews, but as part of them. And I love that, because sometimes it's just so good to be able to go on there like, nobody knew who done that. Nobody's going to question me. Nobody's going to do this. Nobody's going to drill me. Nobody's going to do – it's just like you just posted this and somebody's going to react to the story. Not to me, but to the story. So I love that.
Yeah.
And I believe in what they're doing. I think they're the next big thing.
I do too.
I have for many years.
I actually have her on my list. I'm negotiating when to interview her right now. Like, she's in my Facebook too. I have a message chain going with her right now about when we have time, which one of us has time to interview.
Colleen.
So yeah, Colleen. Colleen Fitzpatrick.
Perhaps I can help you make that a possibility.
That would be
I would
awesome.
love that.
Love that. She's very sweet, and very driven.
Oh
lady.
yeah. I would suggest that you do Colleen and Margaret together because they're
Okay.
yin and yang. They are so
Fantastic.
awesome because I've interviewed them together. Last year I interviewed them together. I did something with Hollywood that interviewed them together, and I was the interviewee before we did this. And I'll have to find a link for it. But
Sure.
and they were happy because they wanted me to send them questions in advance and all that. And I thought, you have nothing to fear. I'm not here to tear you down.
Right.
Trust me,
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's some fear of that, and they have relatively reasonable fear
Oh,
of that.
absolutely. That's why
So,
she asked me a lot of questions. So yeah, we've been down that road. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
tell her
that's
you
what-
know me.
I will.
Tell her we've been in contact, and
I will.
I'll help vet any questions that you might have to make sure that
Wonderful.
because I know it's okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the two of them together is the perfect interview
Yeah.
as far as that goes. Like, I don't know of anybody that I could interview with
Mhm.
that would make me any better. But I think that Colleen and Margaret together
Mhm.
are awesome.
Thank you
Well,
for pronouncing Colleen right.
Colleen Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colleen McShane over
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
She's
are there-
awesome. I mean, and Colleen is such a one-track mind individual. Oh, my God.
yeah.
It's
Oh, my
character.
God.
So,
I mean, she is. I met her at AAFS years ago, American Academy of Forensic Science, and one-track mind, boom, 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 boom.
Right.
You know, she is on it, and extremely intelligent individual. I mean, I can even tell you this. But as far as dealing with social media and things like that,
When I was diagnosed with cancer, it felt like my whole world came tumbling down.
Patient Advocate Foundation is here for you, providing free one-on-one practical support to patients with a cancer diagnosis. Call us at 800-532-5274. Patient Advocate Foundation can assist in navigating disability benefits and health insurance options. PAF also helps in accessing vital services, medications, and financial resources for both medical and household expenses. Visit patientadvocate.org or call 800-532-5274.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Margaret helps balance her out because Colleen is such a scientific person. Colleen is 100%. She is so brilliant. It's unbelievable.
right.
I can't even describe how brilliant she is. And it's just like she has to be watered down with somebody. You know, and Margaret is brilliant on her own.
It sounds like
She is. It's just like, it's just we have to have something to cut it with and make it
Sure.
work out. But it's overwhelming.
Totally no. So are there things that are happening in terms of missing persons that you feel like aren't happening and need to be, like laws that need to be passed, or what would, like you said you'd like missing persons to and unidentified people to go away. So what are you wanting to see happen to make that happen?
So several states have passed laws. So like New York, Tennessee, you know, a lot of these laws have passed that require the use of NamUs or reporting to state.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was a Help Find the Missing Act from 15 years ago that was
Sure.
Help Find the Missing Act, Billy's Law,
Mhm.
that was supposed to be a federal law that required the use of reporting to NamUs, the National Missing and Unidentified Person System. It didn't pass, and that was disappointing. But it was so complicated at the national level that each state, we have 50 states, which are 50 states, you know, so they didn't completely Kentucky has coroners, Tennessee no longer does. There's like 3 coroners left in Tennessee. Texas has justice of the peace, blah, blah, blah. So it was just roundabout. So it's just like, it was just too differently defined. So it didn't pass. So I have a friend that's a writer. Her name is Jan Burke, and she lives in upstate New York. And I've often said these things, there should be a law. There ought to be a law. You hear that word, there ought to be a law. And she knew the wife of an assemblyman, Steve Otis, and in New York, and she approached that person. And there was a law in New York that required the use of NamUs. And this is several years ago. And it was missing persons in NamUs, I think. It was missing or unidentified. Just forgive me for not knowing the exact, but it was like there was one side or the other. And it was like either missing persons or unidentified that required the use of NamUs within a specific amount of days. I think it was like 180 days. If you were missing in New York, you had to go into NamUs at this point in time. So I was able to take that law to my state representative, which was John Mark Wendell, which lives in my hometown. John Mark Wendell is my state representative in the state of Tennessee, not the national representative, but the state representative, and he lives here. And I said, here, they did this in New York, can we do this in Tennessee? And I knew John Mark Wendell very well because my mother was his babysitter when he was a child. He's about 10 years, a little over 10 years older than me. And John Mark knew what I did for a living. He knew what I did for a cause with missing persons. He asked me, was it exponential? And it's like, yes, it is. And the grant funding's in place, and we're doing all this stuff. And when I took him this, he said, we can do this. So Tennessee, the volunteer state, become the first state, second to New York as far as passing missing or unidentified. Tennessee was the first state that passed missing and unidentified. If you're missing or unidentified for more than 30 days in Tennessee, you must be entered into the National Missing and Unidentified Person System, NamUs.gov.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Which was overwhelming. Which was like early. It's mostly symbolic because there was no teeth.
But why would a state not want to do that? I don't understand.
Well, it's free. It's free. This is like a no-brainer. So you have free dental, DNA, fingerprint analysis, case management, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
I don't know why anybody would say we can't do that because of manpower, because there's not that many people that go missing in Tennessee. There's not that many people that go unidentified in Tennessee. But if I can at least say every unidentified person is at the very least reported to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah.
And I hope that TBI will at least consider getting it to NamUs. It's okay. So I think symbolically, at least it actually changed something with that. Did it systematically change everything and make everything different? No.
Well, yeah.
Did it set a precedent? Did it set a bar in the sand? Yes, it did. It did say, hey, you have something to live up to. Yeah. And I will make sure that we have something to live up to. And I've been working with AARP since then. So I've had an opportunity to work with and meet with AARP, and I work as a local volunteer leader with AARP. And Alzheimer's, dementia, people that wander.
Yeah,
they're increasing every year.
It's huge. So I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse practitioner student. My husband, we've actually been together since middle school. And
I love that.
Since we were 13, we actually just got married in December, and on our 12-year anniversary. So extra cute points. But he's a social worker, and he was the director of social work at a nursing home before it shut down with 48-hour notice to its residents. And now he works in a neurology clinic. So me and him see it on both ends. I see the treatment side. He sees the social work side. And so we see these really at-risk populations. And, a lot of times the older population, they don't have any family near them or even family alive and rely on their friends. But then when they get older, their friends die or go into nursing homes themselves. And then they become these at-risk older adults and become, but once they succumb to diseases and dementia and Alzheimer's, then they're out there wandering and getting lost. And, you know, in Wisconsin, every year older adults die because they don't have heat in their home, or they're out, they are outside, or they're homeless and they freeze to death. And nobody in this country should freeze to death.
No.
And then people always wonder, like, well, where's their family? And it's like, it's not as simple as where's their family. Some people never have a family. And we as a people should be caring about our communities enough that we can help protect them. And I think it doesn't matter what age, you know, everybody cares about, you know, newborn babies and, you know, toddlers and children, but we also have to care about the, you know, the elderly and everybody. But, you know, those are the two ends of the spectrum, and they're both very much dependent on help from, you know, the middle ground. And so I volunteer. Yep. But I did a lot of volunteering with AARP when I was a Girl Scout, and my grandma was really involved in it. And so I think that you turning what you have done for really the whole country and world at this point into how helping not only that as well, but your community in itself is pretty wonderful.
Well, I'll let that. And we've got a lot of work to do. I hope we have a lot of shows to have together. I'd love to do multiple shows with you guys, because you guys have done so much as well.
We would
We're not even
that.
Maybe I can interview you guys.
That would be
What do you think about
wonderful. We would love that. But we would
on your own show.
Oh, that'd be great. We would love to work with you, you know, more. And that's kind of what we've been doing with, I think you know her, Laura Jacqueline Brand, who has been doing the serial killer work, and she's been doing mainly the Toolbox Killers, Bittaker and Norris. She's presenting at CrimeCon this year. We have been working with her, you know, and to do that story with her and work with her. And we've done a couple interviews with her, and we have some other things that we have in the works that we're planning. So, I mean, that's definitely what we're heading towards, is trying to find a group of people that we enjoy doing things with, you know, and for the better of the country and the better of these cases, because there's so many that go to the wayside. Just like I was going to ask you, you know, with the Evelyn Boswell case, I know that she is the big one that's being followed right now, but there's 4 other Amber Alerts in that area right now, and nobody's talking about them, you know?
Well, and they become muddy, because I said that in that interview, and I meant that. My phone goes off all the time because I'm subscribed to so many Amber Alerts, you know? And I'm in the middle of something. I mean, I was literally going into surgery when I had Amber Alert. Literally. And it's just like I looked at it for a minute, it said Wisconsin. It's just like I stopped it and I just went on because I had to go into surgery. If it had been Livingston, Tennessee, I might have said, whoa, wait a minute, you know. So, which doesn't mean one's any more important than another, but it's just
local.
Like, what if it was my cousin, you know? So you had to think about it.
Yes,
but,
of course.
I mean, those things can become overwhelming. They really can. They can. So we have to make sure that they don't become overwhelming. We have to make sure that as media directors, which was what I most previously done, is how do I make sure that those Amber Alerts are not overwhelming and don't become common stream?
Sure.
They just don't become something that somebody's going to hit the mute button on.
Well,
how do I do that?
Right, because I mean, there are the Lori Vallows and the Gannon Stouches and the Evelyn Boswells of the world.
Yep.
But then there are other many more cases that never hit mainstream media, that never get a big thing, and those children and those families are missing too, you know, and they are grieving, and they are sad and not having closure to their stories just as much as anyone else, you know. And
absolutely.
So we want,
and even older cases, even 30 or 40 years old cases. I mean, I know.
Adult
cases.
Well, that's the case that I'm telling you out of California. The young lady, her mom, you know, she's been looking for her mom since the time of when Rodney Alcala and all of the different serial killers.
I remember Rodney Alcala.
Right. Well, they were all active at that time. So we really believe that it's probably one of those cases where she's one of those unknown victims of one of them, but we don't know yet. We're having to look into it. It's a very old case, and we just covered Madeline McCann the other day, because we still don't know. I think I know, but we don't know, and we don't have any resolve. Look at John Benet Ramsey. We still don't have resolve in that. And those are all cases.
They're all cases.
They're all
theories.
I mean, these are all big cases that are out there. But for every one of those, there's 40, 50, 100 more that no one even talks about.
Well, and what's really interesting about our position, so we're a growing, company and what we do, but because we cover a lot of cases that nobody gets talked about, we've been getting a lot of families who are like, please look into my daughter or my cousin or my neighbor or the girl I went to school with, or this was my mom. And so we're looking at all these cases and they're giving us, the brief details, and then we look it up and there's like, wow, there's nothing
about this case to even go on.
Right, there's a local media news interview from 1982. That's
understood. Understood. Trust me, understood.
And then on top of that, that makes it hard for us. Like, we want to look into every case we get, but there's so many. And like, we have our own, the cases that we present that are not necessary, that are solved, we do those because that's what people like to hear about, but we also have a missing persons one. And then we have, some serial killer stuff because we're looking at the minds and how it has happened. And it's like, we're overwhelmed in what we're doing because it's so much. And every day I look at my planner and I just look at the planner and I'm like, is it going to give me any special powers today? Because I don't know how I'm going to do all that.
Right. We've got a calendar going out till next year.
Yeah. I've got forever today. And it's like, oh, you got to do social media. Oh, I got to go edit this. Oh, and I'm just like, how do you get it all done? I don't know. Social media is the one that I'm fighting right now because, we finally got an editor for our podcast, which we are so thankful for Mr. Donovan. He is great. But I'm still editing our videos and I'm still doing social media, and Colleen is doing research and I do research and Christina does research. And it's like every single day, there's 95 things that are supposed to get done, and I think maybe 20 get done.
Well, because we all have full-time jobs and families. And
so I understand the beginning of your story where you're like, do I miss another day of work or do I pay my bills today? Like, so we're in that boat. That is exactly where we are because we're just growing in through this. I put a lot of time in.
Well, I'm back in that boat. Well, trust me, until I work out something with television and
right, which is what I'm in that same boat.
I got to figure out what I'm gonna do next.
I'm in that same boat. I'm trying to get grants for a couple documentaries we want to do. I'm trying to get a series made. I'm trying to get funding for the podcast. I'm in that boat. I totally understand. And, after spending 3 years on one case, I spent 2 years by myself. And then I finally was like, I can't do all this by myself. And I brought on the girls, I brought on a team, and we've gone through team members. We've had people leave and in good terms and bad terms. And it's been hard, but this last year was a slug through the mud, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But we've come out on the other side, and I really feel like this year is that year for us to really grow into what we're meant to do. Like you said, there's a calling.
Yep.
I literally walked into the bedroom yesterday and told my husband, I said, I'm looking at this man who was a serial killer who passed away, and I happened to just luck upon Laura. Like it was luck. It was absolute luck. I went into a group that I never go into because I had really gotten tired of Facebook groups because they get so nasty. And I just didn't want to go in there, but I did for something. And she was the first one at the top. And she was talking about these serial killers and what she was doing. And I was like, that's what I've wanted to do my whole life is, go and talk to people and serial killers and travel. I just told my husband, I want to travel the world talking to serial killers. And here she is, this girl who does. And I reached out to her just to tell her, thank you, because you just gave me hope in what I want to do. Like, I'm way much older than her, but I realized that I was like, that gave me hope that I can go do what you're doing and be meaningful. And we started talking, and she agreed to do an interview with us. You know, she was the first one that agreed to do this interview outside of the Gypsy case that we had done. And that's when all of this started. And I started seeing different people on her feed and friending them and talking to them. And I think that's really how I came to you, was through me friending those different people and speaking with people. It's Facebook started suggesting to me, you know, who I needed to be talking to. And I really just felt, I looked at my husband yesterday and I said, I am on the right path. And it's weird to think that, because, you know, I'm sitting here looking at this serial killer as dead, but for me, that opens a path that I didn't know I was going to get to go down, you know, because I've formed this friendship with Laura at the right exact time. And now with you guys and all the different people that we're talking to on this podcast. And I think that is going to make this podcast itself be something really unique, is the people that we're talking with and getting people outside of just these cases, but the people who work in these cases and do things, you know, and are involved. And so I just, the exact right place at the exact right time, and knowing and feeling like you're drawn to it. When you were saying that, I was crying, because that is how I feel right now. You know, in this moment right now, that is how I feel. And we had, like I said, this last year has been horrid. We were bashed, and we were, you know, there was a lot of things that happened that we should have given up and been like, fuck this, I'm not doing this. But we didn't.
Sledged through, and it worked.
My goodness, what is going on at your house?
Oh, I'm just walking up the stairs.
There's a lot of noise.
I like that.
The stirs. Yeah, the stirs.
I like it.
And it's like, I look over right now, and I look over, and my Christmas tree is still up, because I have not had a minute to take it down. Plus, I like the lights, but that's how busy we've been since January, you know, since starting January, with going forward away from what we were doing and into this. I feel like this path is just drawing us and pulling us through. So thank you so much for
so inspiring.
being inspiring and giving us another line of hope in this, you know, and we would love to work with you on a regular basis and do things with you. Like, God, why wouldn't we?
Well, so how often should we think about doing this? I mean, I have a lot of cases. I mean, there's a lot of cases. State level, I'd love to be able to bring it to the public opinion.
When are you?
Well, I mean, we're thinking of launching a second podcast that is just dedicated to missing people. So, I mean, we could definitely work on all that together and do like every other week something, you know, doing something. I don't know. We're definitely going to talk with you and figure out how often we can do something, because I think that would be amazing.
I will make time for you.
I will definitely make time to do that, because that's something that's our heart. Like, we found, you know, I love the serial killers and the mind and all of that. I do. And that is where I really want to focus on a lot. But these missing person cases is something where my heart goes too, you know, like because they are so necessary to understanding how to solve these cases, you know, how to bring justice to families that don't get it. So
yeah, yep,
definitely. Well,
until
go ahead.
I mean, I think we need to look at it monthly or weekly.
Yes.
With each state.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that is wonderful. We will talk more about that. I want to thank you so much, Todd, for coming on here and spending time with us tonight. And we will definitely be talking about more of this.
Probably going to message you after this.
Yeah, probably going to message you right after this.
All right. Well, no problem. No problem. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in and dishing true crime with the Good Wives.
Don't forget to join our Patreon member club to get the full recipe shared tonight, inside documents and pictures from the case, bonus mini podcast episodes, live YouTube discussion, and an exclusive invitation. to our discussion group on Facebook and get some amazing Good Wives merch.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at True Crime Wives. And for more inside information, check us out on YouTube at Murder by Design, where we're currently talking about a few different true crime cases, from bullying murders to serial killers. We dish it all.
Have a good one from the Good Wives, serving up true crime, one dish at a time.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.